Hey guys, this is National Master Kevin Yang back at it with another video. And who is this? This is our friend Runinja. Always the very highly contested, fierce competitor Runinja. So e4, c6, queen to e2. And I purposely do this because I want to avoid a normal Caro-Kann. Right? So the normal Caro-Kann, for example, the normal Caro-Kann could be something like this, a bishop to f5. This is a very normal Caro-Kann. Um, there's the exchange and the Panov variation, right? So what I wanted to do is I wanted to avoid the Caro-Kann entirely. Play the move, queen to e2, d5, d3. What am I doing? Well, I'm building my own wall. You build your own wall, I'm going to build my own wall. G6, okay, I'm just going to play F4, E6, knight F3, and you can see I'm not engaging in this triangle structure yet. And our friend Runinja has chosen a very interesting setup as well. Choosing to put the bishop on G7, choosing to put the knight on E7. Two decisions which I find very interesting. And now here comes queen to b6, and all of a sudden I see, okay, you want to hit b2, I'm going to play knight d1. And if you play bishop takes b2, I'm going to play rook b1, and there you go, the bishop would be gone. So that's why that pawn is not free. d4. Now, I would say d4 is not so great of a move, personally, because this pawn, I think, stays on d5. It deserves to stay on d5. Maybe later on, c5, knight c6, d4, but for now, we should keep the pawn on d5. It does so much for you. It controls the center. I mean, although this does control the center, number one, it blocks your bishop's view, and number two, it blocks your queen's view to the king side. So after d4, bishop to g2, I got to castle in harmony, c5, and what am I doing? I'm building a king side attack. I'm not doing much. I'm following some principles I learned. I said, if the position is closed, we can attack. If the position is open, it's going to be a dangerous attack. So here f5 comes, and I think this is a great move, challenging my pawns. I play h3. I said, one day I'm going to bring my knight in here. I'm going to secure this pawn with a rook, and I'm going to try to insert my way into the game. So here comes e5, and here I remember when I was making this move, I was in time scramble with another game, right? It was either the game against Cat 2007 or it was against Anton 2010. So one of our two fellow opponents, I played f takes e5. I knew it was a mistake immediately because of the move f takes g4, right? F takes g4, h takes g4, bishop takes g4, and this pawn's gonna fall. This bishop pins the knight, and all looks terrible. So what happened instead? Well, I was let off. Knight takes, bishop takes, and now I even get a pawn. E takes f5. Attacking the bishop. Queen to c7, f takes g6, and here I'm just picking up pawns. Knight to f2, I'm solidifying my knight to e4 and saying you may not come down here. Bishop to f4, I just play c3. I want to break open the position, get my rook out, nothing big. Bishop to c6, take. Oh, that is not what I wanted. So let's get back to our position. So here, it's around here. c3, bishop c6, c takes d4, and Here, Runinja wanted to trade, and I was like, okay, interesting. Pawn takes, queen takes, knight to f4. And at this point, I played rook a to c1, queen to e7, and I said, how do I solve this? Played check, check. I had no idea how to solve this. I played e5. I said, you know what? If you're willing to trade, I'm very happy to trade because I have this, right? I'm very active in my play, and a bonus is that my bishop is aiming towards this pawn, so I have multiple benefits as to getting the active play and trading queens. So personally, I really wanted to trade queens because I kind of felt uncomfortable with this knight. I felt like if I played e5, I would threaten this sort of double attack with queen to c4 check. That was my goal. Knight takes rook, and I said, you know, if king takes, then it might be equal, because after king takes f1, queen takes e5, it's going to look really equal. I'm not going to like that. I want to create some winning chances. So instead, I played rook takes f8, saying if you play king takes f8, right? If you play king takes f8, I'm still going to play king takes g2, but now I'm going to sort of say check, king f7, rook to c7, and if you play king to g6, I'm going to take this pawn. I'm going to use my pawn advantages to try to grind out the game. So in the game, queen to f7 happened, and here I should have played queen to c4, but I was low on time, didn't think about it, and I played queen to e3. I tried to protect my own squares. So I protect this square, this square, this square. So all these three squares near my king. And here our friend Runinja has the move, or has the option to take the pawn, but maybe our friend was afraid of queen to g5 and maybe rook to c7. I don't know, hard to say, but queen to d5, king to g3. Now notice the queen now does a very good job. Number one, it prevents this rook from coming to f3. It also does a good job in saying, if you ever want to check, I will get a check for you. Rook to8, queen to g5, and now rook to c7, saying, mate is unstoppable, we gotta trade queens now. Rook takes pawn, and this is a fundamentally one endgame. As long as I am patient, I gob up the pawn, and I just roll with it. So here I said, you know what, I just want to push the pawn, take, and now a rook trade. And when rook trades happen, I just go for the pawn, and eventually the game goes out to a close. So what can we learn from this game? Well, the opening was smooth from both sides, right? Except this move d4. This move d4 disrupted all these connections, for one. And number two, instead of d4, it's important to get some of the other pieces out, right? So for example, if you put your queen to c7, you get your pawn to b6 and your bishop to b7, and use this main diagonal. That would be of good help as well. But the fact that you went bishop to e7, our friend Runinja went bishop to c6, right? And this bishop here, it just doesn't feel as active as it does here, right? So I don't know, just a personal preference, but I would say developing the bishop to a more active square would be preferred. So after g4, f5 was wonderful, and here, remember, I made the mistake. I should have played either e takes f5 or g takes f5, but I didn't because I was handling another simul game. So after pawn takes, knight takes, and here I got an extra pawn, and I was able to solidify my position. So at this point I was very happy, but I wasn't sure how to win, right? And obviously I was like, at this point I'm up a pawn, or at this point I'm up 2 pawns, so now I need to trade down. But did I? No. Queen to c4, simplest way to trade down. Get the pin, just trade down. But I didn't. I played queen to e3, and what our friend should have done was, our friend Runinja should have played queen takes a2. I mean, it's not an easy move to spot because first of all, black is risking that these checks do no harm, but this black queen has another target, so it's kind of complex, but it's a matter of judgment. So instead, queen to d5, king to g3, rook t8, and this gave me my checks. So I would have to say, really, whatever decided the game was, it had to come later in the game. Queen to f7. If I played queen to c4, that decided the game. And now queen to d5, rook d8 was another one of those moves where it was like, you decided the game, man. Because now I get my rook in, I get extra pawns, and I get all that fortune. So let's move on to the next game against Runinja. This becomes another one of those London defenses. d5, knight f3, bishop d6, bishop to g3, saying, if I take, you take. So Runinja knows the London very well. I play a6, a4, wonderful move. This is called a what? Prophylactic move. Prophylactic move, just preventing black from playing b5 at all. So instead I castle, e3, b6, and all I'm doing is I'm just trying to develop, right? So nothing is happening here, and now all of a sudden Runinja is setting up like a stone wall kind of looking thing. And now I try to undermine the pawn structure, right? Knight takes, bishop takes, rook to a2. Very interesting defense. I would have liked to see rook to a3, particularly because if queen takes, there's rook to b3, trapping the queen. But there's also knight to e4. And there's also maybe rook f to b8, suggesting I'm going to play b5, one day play b4, and it's going to be good vibes. So that's one. So in rook to a2, I said I'm going to play b5 right away. If you play a5, I'm going to play bishop to d7 and prevent you from playing f5. So I was sort of playing the prophylactic move now. Knight to b1, very good maneuver, saying I'm going to bring my pawn up, bring my knight out this way to e5. I like it. Wonderful. So I play my knight to e4, taking advantage of the absence. c3, knight to d2, and now b4. This is interesting because now our friend Runinja has said, I'm going to commit to b3 and c5. Now obviously that's very scary. But after rook c8, rook c2, knight to f5, now it becomes even more dangerous. And here's where I'll leave you off with. Right, so what is the right course of action for black here? Because it's not clear what black has to do. White is going to put in the outpost and going to stall. So what is black going to do, right? I'll see you in the next video.